I've been told for decades, long before electric vehicles were even a thing, funnily enough, that as soon as you drive the car off the forecourt, it loses half of its value. So what I've done, I've had a look online of pre-registered electric cars. So essentially, if it's no more than 6 months old and it's done no more than, say, several thousand miles, it can be on this list. So I've got top 15 of the best electric car deals, pre-registered, and well, here they are, because some of them are alright, but some of them are actually very tempting. Right, let's start in no particular order with this. It's a 2024, of course, they're all 2024. It's a Nissan Leaf. It's done a few thousand miles and it's less than £16,000, which, all right, it's the 40 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf, which is an old car. It's kind of almost gone in terms of production. It's CHAdeMO. There's reasons why other cars are better that are out there, but for less than 16 grand for a nearly new one, that's not bad. Next we have the Vauxhall Corsa. This is the facelift version, which will be coming on the channel at some point in the future. So the one you can see here is the previous shape, if you will, but essentially it's the same car. And for £16,500, you can get a nearly new one. It's the cheaper end of the EV market. In fact, the cheapest electric car on sale at the moment, I believe, is a Vauxhall Corsa. For a similar price, a bit more expensive than the Leaf. It's got a bigger battery, 50 kilowatt hour instead of the Leaf's 40. Again, considering what the list price is, 26 upwards for a Corsa, it's 10 grand off. It's a few months old. Sticking with the Stellantis group now, the Peugeot E208, which I think is a much better looking, essentially same version of the Corsa, as well as other clones that they do. It's a little bit more expensive, £16,721, but again, I think I'd probably go for that over the Corsa just because I prefer its looks. But the fact that you've got a choice at a price bracket that is, well, a lot better than I think most people think in electric car world, again, it's worth a look. Another Stellantis Group clone. This one's a little bit bigger and super comfortable, and for less than £17,000, you've got a 2024 Citroen EC4. I say this every time, but ultimately that is the comfiest or smoothest in terms of its suspension, standard average car, whatever you want to call it, as in nothing premium, that you can buy. It's going over cobbles, it was just wafting over them, where even the Tesla, for example, was going as cars do. It's super comfortable. That's a unique selling point, which means I do like a C4, an EC4. This next car is something which normally would be brand new, list price of around £90,000 or more, but this particular one was around 90 grand. So again, it's a 2024. It's just a few thousand miles on it, nothing much, but it's not around £90,000. It's 58 grand. Now, that's not cheap. I'm not saying it's cheap, but we're looking at value here, not cheap. They're very different things. And considering what that is new and what it is just a few months old, it's got what, 400 odd, 500 odd brake horsepower. It's essentially a Porsche Taycan underneath. And, well, it's a lot of car for the money. A very good family car, which you either love or hate in terms of its looks next. It's the Ionic 5. It's the bigger battery version, the 77 kilowatt hour version. So they do a smaller one. This is the bigger one. And it's just under £33,000 for the sake of being a few months old. It will divide opinion, but in terms of the size inside the car, the amount of space you have, there's a lot of space. It's a good family car. I think it looks cool. And in the 77 kilowatt hour battery version, very good range, fast charging, 800 volt charging, and again, 33 grand. That's £7,000 cheaper than what I would argue is the benchmark in new electric car world, the Tesla Model 3, which is 40 grand effectively. That's new, of course. These are pre-registered, but you're thinking, well, if that's in my field of view at 33 grand, that's not a bad option. I'll probably annoy the Tesla fans saying that. I'm sticking with the Ionic brand now, the Hyundai Ionic brand, and this is the Ionic 6. Essentially, it's the same car, but it's slippier in terms of aerodynamic efficiency. And you know what? I prefer it in terms of its looks. Some people absolutely hate this car, but for me, I actually like it because it's just different. It's far rarer on the road, so you feel a little bit more special driving it. And of course, they all come in the 77 kilowatt-hour battery version. There isn't a smaller one, at least not at this stage. Just under £36,000. That's 50 grand list price, is that specific car. 36. So probably more of a company car than a car that people buy in terms of a cash purchase or a finance. But I don't know, I just really like it. It looks a lot better in the flesh rather than on camera. Just, if you don't like it, it does, it really does. Next we have a bonkers car that we tested and said was too fast for British roads, which is something I never thought I'd ever say. But in anything other than bone dry tarmac, well, you'll run out of talent, I will run out of talent before the car does. It's the Kia EV6 GT. I think it's not far of 600 brake horsepower. That's supercar performance levels. 62 grandish, I think new. Upwards, of course, depending on spec. This is a few months old and it's £49,000. Again, I'm not saying that's cheap, but considering what you're getting, a fairly large car with supercar performance, and it has been tweaked, it's not just fast in a straight line, £49,000. Let's bring it down to earth a little bit more now in terms of a relatively decent family-sized electric vehicle. This is the MG4. It's the 64 kilowatt hour, so it's the bigger battery version. Standard spec, so it's the SC. £18,500 for effectively what is. It's a good electric car. Its interior is a bit bland. Comes with a 7-year warranty, so that's good, and it drives really well. So there's a definite drop, more than others, with MGs. We have a car now that we reviewed on the channel probably 2-3 weeks ago as you're watching this, and it's the Volkswagen ID7, the flagship of the ID range, which is their premium entry, if you will. It's a real grower. The longer we had it as a press car, the more we liked it. 77 kilowatt hour battery, nearly 300 brake horsepower, and that's the launch edition, this specific one, for £41,500. That would have been mid-50s just a few months ago in terms of list price. So 41.5 grand in another 6 months, another year, that's going to be really good value. Sticking with the ID range now, we have the newer facelift, if you will, version of the ID3. £26,719. Now, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's not the most exciting of the Volkswagen sort of brand. The interior is a lot better than the original launch. All for a few minor tweaks here and there, it makes a big difference. And we actually like the car now in terms of the interior, and it's really spacious. It's a good family car. And of course, you can't do a top anything electric car in terms of a list without doing a Tesla. So this is a Model Y, and Tesla do not do offers typically. It occasionally comes up, but it's the list price and that's it. There is no haggling, and sometimes that's a better system. But this is a standard rear-wheel drive Model Y, a few months old. I'm not sure why it's only a few months old because this isn't from Tesla, but it's just under £37,000. So again, that's the Model Y, not the 3, standard range. Something a bit different now, and certainly in terms of colour, and one we have yet to review because they're just not replying, but we'll get there eventually. It's the Volvo Ex30. It's like a simpler version of their standard cars, if you will, of the XC40, and of course a bit smaller. And this is the single motor extended range version. So this is normally around the £38,000 bracket in that spec, and that is just under 32. So I guess this is here mainly to say that yes, it's cheaper, but it's not massively cheaper to the point where you go, that's a bargain. It's kind of showing that just because something's pre-registered, it doesn't mean it's massively cheaper than the car that you may have bought new. Certainly not. You've lost half its value by driving off the forecourt. Another family car next, not a big family car, but an okay size family car. Ones that we really did like and warm to. It's the Renault Mean E-Tech, 60 kilowatt hour battery, 40 grandish list price for this car, and again, a few months old, gets you it for £26,000. Now, considering that's a bit cheaper than like the ID3, for example, I would probably prefer the Megane, although the ID3's good. I don't know. It just felt like a nice car, a good drive. It's quite quick. I will say though that I've seen those for a couple of years old for about 18 and a half. So the drop is still going to be there, but considering that should be, well, if you shop around in the 30s, brand new, it's a decent wedge off just because it's pre-registered. Now we have proof that Volkswagen, unfortunately, when they launched the original ID3, did drop the ball because they were shown up, so to speak, by the Cupra Born, a car which is effectively the same car underneath in terms of the running components and the battery. And this one is the version 1, it's the base spec, the poverty spec, and it's a grand cheaper, give or take, than the ID3. And for me, it's a better car. I would pick the Cupra Born over the ID3, like for like, every day of the week. It looks better, it drives better, it's got much nicer interior, and it's cheaper. So, although I do like the ID3 and it does appeal to the Volkswagen fan base, you know, there's a lot of loyalty there, that for me is a better car. And that's it. We're done. That's your top 15. There are other deals out there, and by the time I've researched this, got those screenshots and put this video out, there's probably wildly different prices out there. It's probably going to be a good month or 6 weeks from when I'm doing this or did that research to when you're watching it. So I'm not saying these are the cheapest. You can get some of the models I've shown you for less, but they were higher spec ones, and for what you should have paid and what you're getting pre-registered, some of them I think is an absolute bargain. And if you're wanting new, because, well, it is nice to get a new car, isn't it, that no one else has driven. Pre-registered is as close as you can get, but you still have that, again, that big wedge of saving. Some of these will appeal to some people. I don't know. I think a lot are now waiting until they're 2-year-old. So you've still got the good warranty left on the whole car, not just the batteries, and the price has come down considerably less. I mean, you're always going to lose money. Depreciation is a fact of life with any car, petrol, diesel, electric, and it always will be. In fact, I've done a video recently about depreciation, which I think has already gone out, or if not, will be coming out next week, and why ultimately it's always overplayed, is depreciation. So go and watch that one, and if you want to discuss depreciation of EVs or anything, do it in that video. But yeah, that's it, the top 15. What do you think? Do any appeal to you? I would say the one that might make people kind of go, oh, I haven't thought about looking for that, might be the Model Y. And I say the Model Y not just because of the Tesla fanboys, but because the Model Y last year, 2023, was the best-selling car of any type, petrol or electric, in the world. I mean, you know, electric cars aren't selling apparently, but there you go. 45 new, 37. That's £8,000 for the sake of a few thousand miles and a few months old. So, what's your pick of the bunch? Have you bought a pre-registered car, petrol or electric, in the past, recently? Just because the car's pre-registered though, don't automatically assume it's the best thing you can do. This is something which I reply to when people always say, I always get pre-registered. It's not always the case. I mean, the last brand new car I got, forgetting the Tesla, which obviously, again, there's no haggling for, and it was a different time then. But the last brand new car I bought was the Volkswagen Polo. And I bought it online through a broker, if you will, that always did brilliant prices. And it was £500, sometimes £1,000, depending on which dealer you looked at, cheaper, brand new, than the pre-registered cars that they were selling. And when I asked the guy, I said, but wait a minute, how is that more expensive than the car I bought new? Oh, well, you bought it through commercial, through the broker, rather than retail. So someone walks in that dealership thinking they're getting a good deal, when actually there might be other ways. That's what the internet gives everybody, access to almost anything. There was one I put on my Twitter feed, have a look on there if you want, for a brand new Vauxhall Astra electric for just over £20,000. It's cheaper than the Corsa. And it was from a main dealer. There's obviously occasions when targets have to be hit, and that will be cheaper than any pre-registered Astra, you know what I mean? Because they're just saying, right, for the next 4 or 5 people that come across, you can have it for this ridiculous price so we can hit the targets. So just have a look around. again, I say time and time again, do your research. Don't just assume that the guy at the dealer that says, oh, a big discount on this, that's actually true. They're all sales tactics, aren't they? So anyway, that's it. Again, let me know what appeals to you, if anything, if you're into an EV. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, all the usual crap. And if you become a member, there are members-only videos going up now, once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week, that will only ever be on the members-only videos. And you will get videos like this on the Sunday instead of Friday for 99p. And it helps the channel out. So thanks for watching again, and I'll see you soon.